classifier will, by using that, we'll just classify a test record based on the rules which are triggered by the record. Okay, so if these are some of the rules we have taken, then this classifier based on these rules is going to classify the records. For example, rule 1 says that we have it says that if it is not giving birth and if it can fly, then it is bird. If it gives birth, if it cannot give birth and if it lives in water, then it's a fish. And if it is giving birth and if the blood type is of worm, then it's a mammal. And if it cannot give birth and if it cannot fly, then it belongs to reptiles. And the last rule says that if it lives in water sometimes, then it is an amphibian. And we are given with these three test records wherein we have to just find out to which class they belong. To which class they belong, isn't it? So the first vertebrate, which is a lemur, is warm-blooded and give birth to younger ones. Isn't it? It gives birth to younger ones. It cannot fly as well. So if we will check here, warm-blooded, okay, and if it's giving birth here, yes, giving birth, and it is a warm-blooded type. So you can just say that it triggers the rule R3. For this, R3 is triggered, and this is called as a mammal. We can classify this lemur under mammal because it triggers the rule R3. It's classified as mammal. On the other hand, a turtle, if we take this turtle, cold-blooded, it is cold-blooded and it doesn't give birth and it cannot fly. So, yes, if R4 is triggered and R5 is also the second vertebrate, R4 and R3, because it says that it gives birth. Sorry, it's not giving birth, cannot, it's a cold-blooded type. Okay, this we can, R4 and R5 gives birth, lives in water sometimes. So this, according to this, whatever data is given, this turtle triggers rule 4 and rule 5. And if we take this dogfish, it will not trigger any of the rules. Like, see here, it is a cold-blooded element, so we don't have that. Gives birth, if we check here, if we will say that okay, we can apply it will come under this, then it says that it cannot fly. Give birth and it cannot fly, so it cannot trigger any of the rules. So none of the rules are applicable to this dogfish shark. So we have to ensure that this classifier can still make a reliable prediction even though a test record is not covered by any rule. See, this is a test record and it cannot be covered by any of the rule. So we have to see to that these rules will ensure that the classifier can still make a reliable prediction even though a test record is not covered by any rule. So we have this one of the two properties for that. Two important properties of this rule set generated by this classifier for the previous example, whatever was illustrated. So mutually exclusive rule and exhaustive rule. These are the two important properties of the rule generated by a rule-based classifier. So what it says is, the rule in a rule set R are mutually exclusive if no two rules in R are triggered by the same record. If a particular record will not trigger any of the two rules, then we can say that those two rules are exclusive, mutually exclusive. Okay, if no two rules in R are triggered by the same record. And this property also ensures that every record is covered by at most one rule in R. Okay, it makes sure that every record will be covered by at most one rule, not more than that. So we should not have a record which will satisfy more than one rule here. So that's what mutually exclusive rule says, and this is an example. So an example of this mutually exclusive is here. Body temperature is cold-blooded. then it is a non-mammal. If the body temperature is warm and if it is giving birth, then it is a mammal. If body temperature is warm and if it doesn't give birth, then it is a non-mammal. These are the three rules, and a particular record should be covered by at most one rule. It should not cover more than one rule. And here the rules in this set should be mutually exclusive. That is, no two rules in R should be triggered by any of the record. Okay, so what is this exhaustive rule then? The exhaustive rule, we have a rule set R, and this exhaustive coverage, a rule set R has exhaustive coverage. This is the rule set. We say that this rule set has exhaustive coverage if there is a rule for each combination of the attribute value. This ensures that every record is covered by at least one rule in R. At least one rule in R. It means that at least means it can be covered by more than one rule also. So if we assume that body temperature and gives birth are binary variables, so if binary body temperature and gives birth are binary variables, and this, if we assume that, then this has the rule set, whatever is shown here as exhaustive search. So together, if we will take these two properties, they will ensure that every record is covered by exactly one rule. So these properties will make sure that every record is covered by only one rule. Because why we have come up with that? That is because we came to know here that total triggers is triggered by two rules, and there is one more record which cannot be classified under any of these rules. Hence, to overcome these problems, we have come up with mutual exclusive rules and exhaustive rules, wherein it makes sure that every record is covered by exactly one rule. Okay. Now, so every record is covered by one rule, and if a particular rule set is not exhaustive, then we will have a default rule which will cover all the remaining cases. A default case will have an empty antecedent and is triggered when all other rules have failed. See? If any of these rules fail and if any record cannot be categorized under this, then we will have one more default rule. There it covers all other remaining cases. So a default will be applied when all other rules will fail. So YD is known as the default class, and it will be assigned to majority class of training records which are not covered by the existing rules. If you have formed some rules and if records are not, if we are not able to classify the records under any of the classes, then they'll come under this default. And if the rule set is not mutually exclusive, then a record can be covered by several rules, some of which may have product conflicting classes. That's what mutual exclusive is, isn't it? Mutually exclusive means you should not have a record which can be covered under many rules. If it is not mutually exclusive, then it obviously means that record will be covered by several rules. So rules are not mutually exclusive, then a record may trigger, if at all if a record can trigger more than one rule, then we can have ordered rule set. So to overcome this problem, if the particular rule set is not mutually exclusive, then a record can be covered by several rules, some of which may predict conflicting classes. To overcome this problem, we have two ways, that is by using ordered rules and unordered rules. Okay. To take care that a particular record will not be covered by several rules and there can be any, and it becomes difficult for us to predict the class, we have these two ways to overcome this problem. What is that? The first is ordered rules. What is ordered rule? In this approach, the rule in that particular rule set will be ordered in decreasing order of their priority. And this, how do we order them in the decreasing order of their priority in many ways. Like we can consider placing them in the decreasing order on their accuracy, coverage, or total description length, or the order in which the rules are generated. In any way, we can take any of these and try to keep them in decreasing order of their priority. And this ordered rule set, it's also known as a decision list. And whenever a test record is presented for you, it is classified by the highest ranked rule that covers the record. So by doing this, we can just avoid the problem of having conflicting classes predicted by multiple classification rules. That is, if a particular record belongs to multiple rules, then we will have conflict in selecting which class it belongs to. So that problem can be solved by using this ordered rules, wherein it's also called as a decision list. And what do we do when a record is presented? It is classified by the highest ranked rule that covers the record. So we will give rank for that. So whichever is the highest rank, we'll classify that particular test record under that. Otherwise, we'll be having conflicting, isn't it? To which it is applying. So the turtle example only we will take. It belongs to R4 and as R5 as well. Which one to take? Which one to consider? So there is a conflict. So how do we resolve that? By using this ordered rule. In that case, we would have just given priority for those rules. So highest priority, we will give the test record to the highest priority class. The record belongs to the class which has highest priority. We can just classify like that and overcome that problem. And one more approach is by using unordered rules. This approach will allow us to test a record to trigger multiple classification rules, and it considers the consequence of each rule as a vote for a particular class. Okay, and the votes are then tallied to determine the class label, and the one which has the highest number of votes, that can be the class of that particular test record. So if at all, if multiple rules are being triggered by a particular record, then what we do is we have to consider the one with the maximum vote. That's it. That's what we do in our KNN, I guess, isn't it? We had that example wherein if a particular record belongs, if we were getting like whatever problem you had solved, you had all 5 setozas. But what if it was 3 setoza and 2 virginica? Then we would have given the class label as to the one who got maximum vote, that is setoza. In the same way, this is for unordered rules. Okay. So these are the 2 ways in which we can just try to overcome the problem with the records which belong to different rules, and we will have conflict in selecting to which class a particular test record belongs to. Okay, ordered rules and unordered rules. And when we also said that rules will be ranked according to their priority, and that's what the same thing is explained here. So when a test record is present to the classifier, it is assigned to the class label of the highest ranked rule it is triggered. So if none of the rules are fired, then it is assigned to default class. Turtle was the example, whatever we took, isn't it? It's triggering rule 4 and rule 5 according to whatever we discussed. So which one I should give? I should give it to reptiles only now, because this has the higher priority. R2 has higher priority, hence we will classify this under R4, and we say that it is a reptile. That's all. Okay. Rule ordering scheme. So these can be implemented on a rule by rule basis or on a class by class basis. So we have rule ordering, which can be implemented on rule by rule basis or on a class by class basis. What's the difference between these two? We will just check. This is the difference. So this rule-based ordering, this approach will order the individual rules by some rule quality measure. There is some rule quality measure, and based on that, we are going to just order the individual rules. And this ordering scheme, this rule-based ordering scheme, will ensure that every test record is classified by the best rule. It makes sure that every test record is classified by the best rule covering it. And the drawback of this scheme is that lower ranked rules are much harder to interpret because they assume the negation of the rules preceding them. So that is one of the drawback of this scheme, that is lower order ranked rules will be harder to interpret because we have they assume the negation of the rules preceding them. The fourth rule shown in figure 5.1, let's check. Aquatic creatures, semi-amphibian. So this is one of the example. The fourth rule has the following, like we have this interpretation here. If the vertebrate doesn't have any feathers, do we have that? Okay, it's not this one, I guess. Okay, if a particular vertebrate doesn't have any feathers, it's okay. Yeah, that is not here. Actually, it's there in the textbook, but it is not here in the slide. So it's an example. It says that if a particular if the vertebrate does not have any feather, and if it cannot fly, and if it is cold-blooded, and if it is semi-aquatic, then it is an amphibian. Okay, that's what this is an example for that. So it's shown in figure 5.1, the example. There it says that if the vertebrate doesn't have any feathers, and if it cannot fly, and if it is cold-blooded and semi-aquatic, then it is an amphibian. So the additional conditions, whatever additional conditions we have, that is like it doesn't have any feather, and it cannot fly, and it is cold-blooded, are due to the fact that vertebrate does not satisfy the first three rules. So if number of rules are large, interpreting the meaning of the rules which are at the bottom of the list will be a very cumbersome task. So as many rules means higher order rules we can manage, but the lower ranked rules will be harder to interpret. So that's a drawback of this rule-based ordering scheme. So in this, what do? We just try to order the individual rules by some rule quality measure, and this tries to ensure that every record is classified by the best rule which is covering it. And the drawback is that lower ranked rules are harder to interpret, and it becomes a very cumbersome task in order to interpret those meaning of the rules which are at the bottom level. Hence we have one more approach, that is class-based ordering scheme. In this, the rules that belong to the same class appear together in the rule set R. So the rules that belong to the same class. The rules are then collectively sorted on the basis of their class information, and the relative ordering among the rules from the same class is not important. As long as one of the rules fires, the class will be assigned to that. So in this case, the interpretation becomes a bit easier, but it's sometimes for a high quality rule to be, in this case what happens is the high quality rule may be overlooked in favor of the inferior rule that happens to predict the higher rank class. And most of the well-known rule-based classifiers like C4.5 and Ripper will employ this class-based ordering scheme, and we'll discuss 4.5 and Ripper in the further sections. Okay, so in this approach, the rules that belong to the same class will appear together in the rule set. So it's everything will be more clear if we will take an example, isn't it? So if I simply say that the rules that belong to the same class appear together in the rule set R, means it's better to go for an example. We'll do that later. Okay. So most of the well-known algorithms will use this class-based order scheme. But the problem is that we may sometimes overlook the higher quality rules in favor of the inferior rule. Okay, in this case, class-based ordering. But here, if this ensures that every record is classified by the best rule, but the drawback is that the lower ranked rules will be harder to. Here, we may overlook the higher order rules by just trying to going in favor of inferior rule. So how do we build a rule-based classifier? So in order to build a rule-based classifier, we need to extract a set of rules that identify the relation between the attributes and the class label. And then we have these two broad classes of methods for extracting these classification rules. So what do we need to do? To build a rule-based classifier, we need to extract the rules that identify the relation between attributes and the class. So for that we have two broad classes of methods. They are direct method, which will extract the classification rules directly from the data. Okay, direct method which extracts classification rules directly from the data. And also we have indirect method which will extract classification rules from other classification models like decision trees and neural networks. We are okay with the decision trees, but we don't know what is a neural network. So indirect method will try to extract classification rules from other classification models like decision tree and networks, neural networks, whereas direct means they try to extract the classification rules from the data itself. And this direct method will partition the attribute space into smaller subspaces so that all records that belong to the subspace can be classified using a single classification rule. So we partition the attribute space into smaller subspaces, whereas in indirect method we use the classification rules to provide a complex description. We will have a clear description of more complex classification models. So we can have a clear description using this. We use a classification rule here in case of indirect method, whereas here we just partition the direct methods. We just partition the attribute space into smaller subspaces so that all these records belong to a subspace and can be classified using a single classification rule, whereas in indirect method we use classification rules to provide a clear and brief description of more complex classification models. So we have two methods of building a rule-based classifier. So we're moving on to the direct method. It's sequential covering. Direct methods for rule extraction. We have this sequential covering here. Yes, sir. Okay, we start from an empty rule and then grow a rule using. So in sequential covering, as it is told here, direct methods, we just extract classification rules directly from data. So we use sequential covering algorithm for that to extract the data to extract the rules directly from the data. So rules will be grown in a greedy fashion here based on some evaluation measure, and what the rule sequential covering algorithm will extract the rule one class at a time for the data sets that contain more than two classes. If at all if you have more than two classes, then one class will be extracted at a time. And for example, for the vertebrate classification problem, whatever we saw, this sequential covering algorithm will generate rules for classifying the birds first, and then it may form the rules for classifying the mammals, then for amphibians, reptiles, and then for fishes, like that. So it extracts a rule for one class. For each class, it extracts a rule in sequential covering. So the criteria for deciding which class, see here, it's often used, it extracts rules directly from data, and the rules are grown in a greedy fashion. You know what is greedy, isn't it? So the algorithm extracts one class at a time for data sets that contain more than two classes. So whatever problem we have taken, so first for birds, then for mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and finally for fishes. So the criteria, whatever the criteria for deciding which class should be generated first, that depends on many factors. I said we are discussing that for each class will be generate rules for each class. So which one to select first? That depends on many factors such as the training records that belong to fraction of the training records that belong to particular class, or the cost of misclassifying records from a given class. So those are some measures which are used to just classify the records among different classes. So this is a summary of the sequential covering algorithm. The algorithm starts with an empty decision set here. See, we have an empty decision set R, and we have this learn one rule function. We have this learn one rule function. This is one function which is used to extract the best rule for particular class Y. Extract the best rule for this particular class Y, and this best rule should cover the current set of training records. So learn one rule will try to extract the best rule for class Y that covers the current set of training records, and during this rule extraction all training records for class Y, so whatever training records which belong to class Y are considered to be positive examples, okay, and that which belong to the other classes are considered to be negative examples. So E is the training records and A is the set of attribute values. So we have classes as y1, y2, yk. So if at all, if we say that using learn one rule we are removing certain training records, means we are just the ones which belong to that particular Y class are treated as positive records and the others are treated as negative examples. And a rule is desirable if it covers most of the positive examples and none of the negative examples. So once we classify those, once we will bifurcate the training records among different classes, we will just check if a rule is, we will form a rule, and if that particular rule is desirable, if it covers most of the positive examples. Most of the positive examples if it covers, then we'll keep that rule. Otherwise, if a rule is not found, then the training records which are covered by the rule are, once we have found such a rule which covers most of the positive examples, then we will just those training records which are covered by that rule are eliminated. Okay, so we have one rule and we have some records which are belonging to that particular rule, means we'll just remove that records, and the new rule is added to the bottom of the rule list. So this procedure will be repeated until the stopping condition is met, and every time the algorithm proceeds to generate new rules for the next class. Like first one rule, so take all the examples which belong to that, positive examples which belong to that rule, remove it, then again apply same thing. Second rule you take, find out all the records which belong to that particular rule, remove that also. Likewise we proceed until we are able to just put these all records into, until we will be able to classify the records among different classes. So that is demonstrated here. See, this is the original data. So what do we do? First we apply for a set of records, and if most of them are positive examples, we will just remove them. See, rule 1, they come under rule 1 and we have removed them. Then we move on to the bottom. The new rule is now added to the bottom of the decision list. First they started from top, and now they have added to the bottom of the decision list. Once most of them, so we will consider all the records which will have positive examples will take, and those come under rule 2. Likewise, we proceed until we will be able to classify the records. Okay, so a data set that contains a collection of positive and negative examples is this. So the rule 1, whose coverage is shown here. This is extracted because it covers this is extracted because it covers the largest fraction of the positive example. Then we'll move on to the rule 2. The algorithm proceeds to look to the next best route, and that is available here, which is covered by R2, isn't it? And likewise, it proceeds until it is able to classify maximum records. Okay, so this is about sequential covering. So we'll discuss this learn one rule function in the next class.